For generations, owning a home was really the bedrock of middle-class life. It was a symbol of stability, a foundation for your family, and, well, a reward for hard work. But for millions of people today, that foundation feels like it's cracking. This is an exploration of the deep structural reasons why. It's a question that's felt with this deep frustration all over the world. You do everything right, you're diligent, you save, and yet the goalposts for owning a home just seem to move further and further away every single year. And that feeling of personal failure is so common, but it really masks a much more complex reality. In this explainer, we're going to investigate the answer. We've all heard the conventional advice, right? Just save more, work harder, lower your expectations. But there's this widespread sense that the system itself is fundamentally misaligned, and that runs a lot deeper than just personal budgets. So to really understand the problem, we have to move past the anecdotes and actually look at the data. To cut through all the noise, economists use a really simple but powerful tool to measure housing affordability, one that works across time and across different cities. And this single metric, well, it reveals the scale of the crisis with stark clarity. It's called the median multiple, and it is a central piece of evidence in this whole investigation. The formula isn't all that complex, but what it shows us tells a profound story about the modern housing market. So what is it? The median multiple is simply the ratio of the median house price to the median annual household income. In other words, it tells you how many years of a typical full salary it would take to buy a typical home. It's really the most direct measure of affordability we have. Historically, a healthy, affordable housing market has a median multiple of 3.0 or less. For decades, this was pretty much the standard in most of the developed world. A home costing about 3 times your annual household income, that was considered normal. That was attainable. Now, by contrast, the numbers today are just stark. A healthy market should be at a 3.0. A city like Sydney now sits at 14. Hong Kong is at 20. Think about that. It means it would take 14 to 20 years of the entire median income just to pay for the house itself. This isn't just a slight increase. This is a complete structural break from the past. A deviation this extreme, it doesn't just happen. It's not the result of a few bad years or some temporary boom. No, it points to a deep, fundamental change in the very nature of housing itself. So what was that change? The core of the issue really lies in this fundamental change to what a house is for. Its identity shifted from being a place of shelter to something else entirely. See, a home has always had these two identities. On one hand, it has its use value. It's shelter, right? It's a place to raise a family, a basic human need. But on the other hand, it also has an exchange value. It can be bought and sold for a profit. For decades, that shelter part was dominant. But over the last 40 years or so, housing has been transformed into a global financial asset, where its value as an investment product now completely dwarfs its value as a place to just live. And this is absolutely critical to understand. This was not some natural market evolution. It was the direct result of deliberate policy decisions made over decades. The housing market as we know it today, it was designed. So, how was it designed? It was done through a mechanism that we can call the scarcity machine. It's a two-part process that systematically drives prices up by creating something known as policy-made scarcity. Here's how that mechanism works. First, governments put a hard cap on supply. They do this through restrictive zoning and land use regulations that make it incredibly difficult and expensive to build new homes, especially where they're needed most. Then, at the exact same time, central banks flooded the market with cheap credit and low interest rates. This supercharged demand. So, what happens when a restricted supply collides with supercharged demand? Well, there's only one possible outcome: an explosion in prices. And the result is that in this new environment, a house is no longer just a home. For those with significant capital, it's become one of the safest and most reliable financial products in the world for storing and growing wealth. This brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. To really understand the modern housing market, you have to understand who you're competing against. And it's not what most people assume. This quote really gets to the heart of it. In an economy where these vast sums of money are being created, that money has to find a home. It doesn't go into the everyday economy of groceries and gas. No, it flows into asset markets, stocks, bonds, and, most importantly, real estate. So this is the real competition.
When you, a prospective home buyer, go to make an offer, you're not just bidding against other families. You're bidding against global capital flows looking for a safe haven from inflation. You're bidding against investment funds that treat housing as just another item in their portfolio. And you're bidding against wealthy individuals who are just looking to park their cash in a stable, supply-constrained asset.
So, the impossible cost of housing, it is not a personal failure. It is the logical result of a system that transformed shelter into a financial asset, deliberately restricted its supply, and then pitted the average person against the full force of global capital. Understanding this architecture is the first step, not toward blame, but toward recognizing the true nature of the problem.